So I just watched Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, and I have some pretty mixed feelings about this film. I won't get into spoilers for now, but I'll give you a warning when I actually do. Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania was one of my most anticipated movies of 2023, and I was actually excited for the movie, and the movie turned out to be decent enough, I guess, but it wasn't as good as I would have hoped. And it was pretty disappointing. I feel like this movie is better as a episode 1 to phase 5 and 6 than an actual movie in and of itself. This movie isn't terrible. Disappointing doesn't mean bad. It just means that the movie was lower than my expectations. There are some things I actually really enjoyed about it. First off, the best thing about this movie, the thing that everyone is talking about right now, is obviously Kang. He really carries this movie and he just stands out among all the characters. Jonathan Majors just gives an amazing performance and steals every scene he's in. He's just so menacing, brutal, and scary. I like how he doesn't just want to rule the world just to be evil. He thoroughly believes that destroying and building new universes and ruling everything will stop the other kings from destroying the multiverse. You can feel the intensity and danger whenever he walks into the room, and his costume looks like it was pulled straight out of the comics. One of my main problems of Phase 4 was that there wasn't a clear threat or any urgent danger. But this movie solves this problem by introducing a clear threat, Kang, and showing how powerful he is and that there's more of him coming very soon. The best thing about this movie is Kang. The visuals and CGI was also very improved from Phase 4. The quantum realm looks actually real and intriguing, and the creatures living in the quantum realm also look good. There are still some bad shots and effects, but it was very improved from the previous Phase 4 project. There are some really fun sequences, most of the jokes are great, and the final act was really big, intense, and fun. But like I said, I have lots of mixed feelings about this film. First off, this movie has a big tone issue. They try to have the light-hearted and comedic vibe of the previous 2 Ant-Man films, but then they combine it with the dark, sinister, and serious stuff with Kang, and it just doesn't mix well. You can have one moment where the characters are just throwing jokes at each other, then it just cuts to Kang murdering people. It repeats a lot of the same problems as some of the Phase 4 projects, where we can't just sit on the serious and emotional stuff, and we're just cracking jokes. It isn't as annoying as films like Love and Thunder, but the stuff with Kang was so interesting, and then MODOK starts making jokes. I'll go into more detail in the spoiler section, but I do not think that comedic relief MODOK is the right person to be paired up with sinister, evil, and menacing Kang. I laughed at some of his jokes, but he just doesn't feel right in a film like this. And that face, what even is that? No, why would you make it? What am I looking at? The conflict with Scott and Cassie was also not set up very well. Remember the part in the trailer where Scott is sad that he missed out on 5 years of his life and with Cassie, and that Kang uses that conflict to convince him to help him? That's completely dropped in this movie, and not developed at all. Tried to make Cassie more moral than Scott, and that didn't work for me, especially in the context of this film. The second act is very messy and sometimes really boring. The movie can become too goofy, especially the creature designs. A lot of people have been comparing it to the Star Wars prequels. I can see that. Now I'm going to be talking spoilers, so if you didn't watch this movie yet, skip to this timestamp to avoid spoilers. So going into this film, I was expecting a character to die like Scott or Hank, or at least something to really show Kang as the big bad of Phase 5 and 6. So after the final battle, the portal blows up, and I really thought that Scott and Hope were just going to get trapped in the quantum realm. But nope, Cassie just opens the portal up again, and everyone makes it back safely, and everything goes back to normal. I get that they don't want to do anything too drastic like killing a character, but at least make them trapped inside the quantum realm or something. It's also baffling that Ant-Man was able to win against Kang. The rebellion group is so forgettable. I forgot all their names. One of them dies in the final battle. I did not care at all. Bill Murray is also in this movie, and he does absolutely nothing in this film. But MODOK is just so out of place in this film for me. Don't get me wrong, I laughed at some of his jokes, like the We Were Brothers and I'll Die an Avenger, but he's just too goofy and comedic. Nobody takes him seriously. His suit was pretty cool, but that stretched out face, I cannot see that again. Just because it was in the comics doesn't mean it would be good in live action, Marvel. He also dies in this movie, and he just feels so wasted, like he doesn't do anything in the story. If he was cut out, the plot would have been the exact same. I think that MODOK would have suited a more comedic and lighthearted project, but not this one. Okay, but the final battle was kinda cool. The cavalry moment with the ants was fun. The fight with Ant-Man and King was brutal. The sequence where Scott starts multiplying was also fun. The 2 post-credit scenes were great and made me excited for the future of the MCU, and that pretty much summarizes this film. This film is trying to set up Kang and rant about how powerful and evil he is, but just forgets about the rest of the characters. This doesn't feel like a third installment inside the Ant-Man trilogy. This feels like a beginning to a phase. There's a lot of things I enjoyed about it, Kang, the final act, some of the jokes, but there were some really obvious flaws with the tone, the story, the characters, some of the CGI. This is just another generic MCU film that just focuses on spectacle and comedy, and it doesn't trust the drama, the story, or the characters to draw the audience in. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was a disappointing and weak start to Phase 5. I wouldn't say it's a bad film. I've been very harsh in this review, but there are some things that I really don't like. This is a film that I'm just going to dislike the more I think about it. I'm giving Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania a 6 out of 10, and it's probably going to be lower in the future.